It's a beautiful day to you, our lovely and smart real estate investors, wherever you're watching us across the world. I'm super delighted to welcome you to another insightful and educative session of Property Matters here on YouTube. In case you're coming across a video like this for the first time, my name is Adejare and I'm your host here on Property Matters. Property Matter is a real estate YouTube talk show where we expose you to everything you need to know about real estate investment. We talk about the pros, we talk about the cons, we talked about the observation, we talked about the objectives, we talked about the rudiments. We've talked about everything that will help you not to make a regrettable decision when it comes to real estate investment. Over time, we have a playlist on land documentation. We have a playlist on how to identify a fraudulent real estate developer. We've also talked about how to identify a fraudulent real estate practitioner. We've talked about some of the gimmicks, some of the manipulations, and of course, this obviously is to expose you to everything you need to know, the good, the bad, and the ugly side of real estate investment. So do also subscribe to this channel, turn on the notification bell so that when I drop a video, a very important personality like you will be the very first person to see it. Welcome again to another exciting episode, and I'll see you after this short time out. Stay tuned. So on today's episode, you're welcome back once again. Before I go further, do also subscribe, turn on the notification bell so that when I drop a video, a very important personality like you will be the first person to see. So on today's episode of Property Matters, I'm going to be talking extensively on what I consider to be the major indicator of a perfect real estate investment. A perfect indicator or a major indicator of a great real estate investment. So today's topic is going to be talking extensively on some of those positive signs, those clear indicators that will give you, an insight if that real estate investment is a go-to property or if it's an investment that you should avoid. So on today's episode, I'm going to quickly talk majorly on why you should look out for some major red flags, and I'm also going to be talking about some of the gimmicks and some of the things you need to look out for. I've seen instances whereby a whole lot of real estate investors have had several unpleasant circumstances and of course not good experience, more importantly for those who are investing on today's episode. And the reason why we're doing this episode basically is for real estate investors who may not be in Nigeria, or for those who may not have the time to do an inspection of the property by themselves. So what exactly are the great or the major indicators of a real estate investment? The very first thing you want to, which I consider to be the foundation and the core, it's quite unfortunate that when people are investing in real estate, they ignore some of these things, and in the process of doing this, a whole lot of real estate investors have gotten their hand burned. So the first thing you want to look out is the property title. Now, on today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the difference between a property title and the property status. Now, when it comes to a property, a lot of people are doing a whole lot of wrong comparison, and I'll be explaining extensively on what a land title is and what a land status also means. Now, when we talk about the land titles, many of people have made mistake. A lot of people have not been able to extensively, distinguish what is the meaning of a freehold. A lot of people have asked me. Someone said the land title of the property I bought somewhere in a pair is a freehold. A lot of people have come to me and said, I bought one freehold property in ibeju, Lekki, and I was like, freehold title. Is there something I'm not so certain of? So when we talk about the status of the land, when people are selling lands, we have explained further that lands have different status. For instance, if a land does not have a definite title, maybe there is no accession, there's no gazette, there's no C of O, there's no government allocation, or there's no governor's consent on that land. So that means that the land obviously may fall into what we call a status. Now, that status is where you can easily distinguish if that land is free or that land is committed. Now, for a pet property, now a lot of people have used freehold, okay, as a means of explaining the title of a land. I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. A freehold is not a title. A freehold is a status of the land. Now, what do I mean? When we say a property is a freehold, it might mean that that property does not fall into any form of government encroachment. What do I mean? In one of my videos, I went further, okay, to explain, okay, that Ekpe lands are categorized into different categories. We have the freehold, which is either the residential or properties that can undergo what we call consent to survey. Okay, I've done that. Okay, so for lands that are residential or for lands that don't fall into every form of, committed acquisition, any form of acquisition, we call them freehold. Now, a lot of people have sold properties, okay, that are committed to different program to different projects, either present or future, and they have used that term freehold to sell. Okay, so a freehold is a status. It is not a title. It's a status that is showing whether the land is free or committed. Then we now have committed acquisition. Okay, now under committed acquisition, we have different kind of committed acquisition. Okay, we have the full committed acquisition. And what do I mean by that? Full committed acquisitions are properties that government have earmarked for a project. Is either they've earmarked it for a project or government have indirectly sold that property to some certain individuals who might at that time, might not have perfected the title. Okay, so when you see such properties, whether it is zoned for cemetery, whether it is zoned for agric, whether it is zoned for any form of acquisition, the status of the land is not a freehold. That status is what we call a committed acquisition. Now, there are some acquisitions that are agric acquisition. Okay, this acquisition, not all agric acquisition can pass through the consent to survey, but there are some agric that can pass through the consent to survey, get some documentation, do some paperwork, and of course you can. The status of the land can change from agric to residential. So such properties are called. So that means that on such properties you can proceed what we call a consent to survey. So for most of the lands that are being marketed and sold in Ekpe fall under this category. So if a land does not have a title, then you may want to verify what is the status of the land. So it is the status that can clearly distinguish if the land is a freehold and not under any form of acquisition or is under a committed acquisition. So a freehold is not a title. A freehold is a condition or the status of the land as at that time. Now, when a land in Lagos is not, the title is not perfected, because of the fact that policies are changing, and of course there are some interest that government may have on that location. So the tendency that the status may change over time is very, very likely. So that is that. So one of the major indicators is that if the title of the land is not well defined, it's an indicator that you should run away. Now, what are land titles? I've said this before. A land title is either a succession, it is gazette, it's a C of O, it is government allocation, or a governor's consent. So if any of these things, if any of these documents are not available on the plot of land, then you want to confirm if the land is any other form of acquisition. So the title. Now, what actually determines the safety or the authenticity of a real estate investment is the title. I've said this several times that the process of documenting, and of course, some of my colleagues have talked about some of the process of getting a CFO, and of course, in some other time, I may also dive and do my own little additions to that. So you want to look at that. Now, I've said it before. Now, buying a land that is way inside, that does not have a title, sometimes it's well preferable for you to buy a land that is facing the road. And if the land is residential, it is good, but you're buying with the intention of fixing the title. So what I'm trying to say is that a property with a verified title, okay, or with a good status, freehold, that is way inside, is better than a land facing the express that does not have a good status and does not have a good title. So that is one of the things you must. So you must be able to verify the title or verify the status, and you want to confirm that. So once that has been done and everything comes out positive, that real estate investment is a great investment. The next thing you also want to talk about, or you want to look about, is the location and the accessibility. Now, I've talked about this several times in several videos. Now, location plays an important part. Now, the reason why a lot of people are going towards that Ayutoro axis, the reason why a lot of people are investing massively in Ayutoro axis basically is because of the news of the proposed international airport, and the Lagos State government have, clearly extend, established their readiness to start the project even this year, and of course, they even went further to give a time frame of 2 years. And of course, Lagos State government basically right now is having partnership with the Chinese and some other, contractors that will be setting up the project. I did a video on why the Chinese are not leaving Lagos, despite the fact that a lot of Nigerians are leaving because some of them cannot get, but the Chinese have refused to leave. Of course, so that is why you notice that the Lagos State government was in conversation with some, Chinese investors who want to talk, who are, who have extended their readiness to start the project in collaboration with these investors. So the accessibility, you want to look at what is coming to that axis. Okay, so a lot of people are investing in the Ayatollah axis. Now, when you're investing in the Ayatollah axis, you also want to quickly look at the status of the land, and then you want to be sure that the land you're buying does not fall into the wrong way of the proposed airport and the like. So location talks about it. So the location talks about is either the land is in a developed place or in a place where greater projection or whether greater projects are coming. So that's the first thing. That's the second thing you want to look at. Now, on that location, you want to look at the accessibility. A lot of people are investing in the Ayatollah axis. A lot of people are investing in the Lekki Express. And when you look at the rate at which government is really working on that Lekki Expressway, it's very, very alarming. The project started a few years ago from the Ekpeti Junction down to Eleko. Now from Eleko, they are taking the project as far as Abramatissoya. So when you look at, for government to be, working so hard, spending a lot of money to do this project, of course, it's a great indicator that that location is somewhere or a place you don't want to ignore. So the Lekki axis, but like I told you, because of the project that is going there, don't own the titled property. Then the third indicator that shows, okay, that a property is a good buy, that you should go for it, is the development plan that the developer has for that project. And the reason why we're talking about this is that when a developer is selling a property, there are those who are doing a long-term investment and those who are doing a short-term investment. Now, those who are doing a long-term investment are just people that they want to build that project and achieve a particular goal. Like for instance, I've seen instances whereby real estate developers are acquiring large expanse of land and they are putting in the helipad, they're putting in tech centers, they're putting in recreational centers. They're spending a lot. In fact, they've made that project a priority to the point that they just want to make that place a state of the art. Okay, so although apart from some that have done helipads and one or two things, I'm still looking forward to those who will do a full-scale development. But once a developer has a good developmental plan for that project, it's a good indicator that you should invest and you should not spectate. What exactly do I mean by that? Now, let me say this: I'm live, I'm online. Okay, people can post what this. Now, it is very, very unrealistic. Okay, it is very, very unrealistic for a real estate investor to buy a property that is below 1 million, 2 million, and they're expecting the real estate developer to do heaven on earth. It's not. Now, the moment you've noticed that the property is below 2 million, is below 3 billion, just know that what you're doing is a long-term real estate investment. You are doing a land banking system. So, peradventure, you really want to put in, those infrastructures, okay, that you are currently looking out for. So, look at the development plan. Now, this point is actually, I'm stressing this for people who are buying structures, who are buying apartments, who are buying duplexes. Now, there was a scenario of a real estate company that sold the property to real estate investors many years ago on the Lekki axis. Now, when I give the exact location, I'll be pointing that. So I'm not here to discuss there. Now what happened was that few years back, okay, the developers that sold this um were like a partnership thing. Okay, those guys were in partnership. I don't know what happened, but there was a necessity for the partner to break, and of course some partners or some developers that did that outing project, okay, had to pull out and start up their own company, and what now became the face of that project. Now, when they started that project, the project was all over social media. It was on YouTube. I believe a lot of real estate investors have looked at this. And what happened was that the moment those people split up, okay, they had to liquidate that particular company, and each individual started their own company. Now, what became the outcome of the project that was sold to people was that they had to put that project in the hands of other administrators, those who never knew the idea for those projects. And as I can tell you right now, that project is badly managed. In fact, the place has become an eyesore. It was not what used to be the delight of real estate investors. More importantly, people invested in that project because of the idea and what the developer intends to do. So when you're buying, looking at the developmental plan, don't buy properties from real estate developers that may not stay long in the market. Now, the thing is, a lot of ideas, a lot of transformation is coming to this industry. A lot of companies are folding up. I know many people don't like to hear this, but that's just the truth. A lot of companies are falling off. A lot of real estate developers are going way off the scene. And what you should look out for as a real estate investor is that you don't want to buy property from the company that they won't be there, okay, to keep the promise and of course ensure that the value of the property they have bought is in good plan. So you want to buy from a developer that has stood the test of time and that will also stand the test of time over the period. So you want to look at that. Now, when a developer has a good developmental plan for the project, now this has gone beyond they are just making empty promises. Now, realistically, we have seen that the idea of doing a 24 hours power supply, a tech hub, and the likes is a fallacy. Many of them never did that. In fact, I've said it before, most of these guys, nobody in Nigeria enjoys 24 hours electricity except those living in estates that are fully serviced, and those people have a way of generating their own power supply. So these are some of the things. So if the developer does not have a long-term development plan, is a danger. Is that property is indicating that you have problem in the future. So in most cases, when people are just starting businesses like it's a partnership thing, you want to go further to investigate the idea of the company. Okay, or who are those? Does the company have a board members, or are people just coming together as partners to start up the company? Because the truth is, by the time they make money, now riches and losses are insatiable. The moment if it's a real estate company that are established by partners, the moment they start making money, the tendency for them to start their own, okay, will definitely rise. And what will not happen is that you that you have bought property from them, you'll be the one to carry and bear the brunt when the company no longer exists. So you want to look at that as well. Okay, so I also talk about another great indicator. Okay, I've talked about this, is what I talk about government project and infrastructure. Of course, I gave instances of the airport, I gave instances of the road construction and some other things. So these are okay the main indicators that you want to look out for. Now, one other thing you should need to understand is that when government are situating projects in locations, these are clear pointers that you should invest. These are clear pointers you should invest, okay? But however, the investment must be done. Now, the mistake most real estate investors are doing is that most people are investing because of prices. A lot of people are are choosing to do businesses with some real estate companies because they consider the price to be too affordable or to be too cheap. Now, let me quickly make this assertion. I'm not saying that all cheap properties that is being marketed are fake. But you need to understand that there's an ideology that guides and regulates the market. When a developer is selling so cheaply, You should know that the developer does not have intention of doing anything meaningful or significant on that project. You should also know that the cheaper the property is that the developer is trying to raise funds from that project and use the proceeds they have gotten from that cheap property that has been sold to you to start up a bigger project. So one of the things you want to do as a real estate investor is that, now let me quickly say this because I'm online and this video will stand the test of time. I'm not saying all cheap properties are sold for this purpose, but 90% of the properties that have been sold in the past, that is currently selling and that will be sold later, are sold solely on this reason. It is based on this reason. So when you are buying because of price, in some cases you are putting yourself in great danger. When you are saying that the reason why I bought this is because it's cheap. Now a lot of people have bought cheap properties to today and they're regretting it. So instead of prioritizing the cheapness of that property, why don't you prioritize the brand, their structure, their integrity, their past records, and achievements? Why don't you prioritize their safety? Now, when you prioritize cheapness over some of these things I've mentioned, these are clear indicators that you are willingly, opening yourself to a tendency of either being disappointed or being duped. See, in Lagos, you have to prioritize value over price. I'm saying this, and even me making this video, I've seen instances of buying cheap property, and after doing my own due diligence and doing a core investigation, by the time I was able to unravel the reason why all these things are happening, I just knew very well that I should not expect anything much. Now, let me say this. I'm not saying all cheap properties, are fake. I'm saying that in most cases, the reason why people sell cheap is that they need to raise funds. And if they have used a project to raise funds, don't expect anything spectacular from that project. So this also is a clear indicator of what you should be looking out for when you're buying property. So if you're going to the international airport access, don't just say it is a pet. Don't just say as far as Lagos, no place is just, because it's the same policies, the same land laws, the same land regulations that will cover all parts, in as much as fact that the place is Lagos. So don't prioritize cheapness over safety. See, there are some properties that you will buy cheap, that you will enjoy a lot and have peace of mind. And there are some properties that there are some properties that are expensive, that signify peace of mind, that signify originality, that signify safety. And that will stand the test of time. And of course, you will even get your return and achieve the reason why you are buying. Meanwhile, there are some other properties that you will buy. The moment you have paid, you have entered unpleasant situation. So these are the clear indicators that you should look out for when you are investing in the Lagos State real estate market. Until I come your way in another insightful, educative, and of course, explosive episode of Property Matters. Once again, do well to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now. God bless you.